Welcome to Unfair Sports, where we take a pensive approach to the sports conversation, a Hog Media production. I'm your host, Jay. Thank you for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. I don't think we deserve it. Go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So we got a special episode today with my guy I want to talk some college football with, and we're going to try to expand the show more. We've talked about this on numerous occasions, and so this is our first full-fledged attempt. The podcast has still been running. We a little off and on, but we're going to get there. I'm talking to my boy Ed Maisonet, who is down there in Houston, formerly of ESPN, and he's a sports editor, friend, Okie, Sooner fan. We're going to talk some Oklahoma ball, some college football ball, and all of that. So let's go ahead and jump right into that now. All right, college football fans, we're going to have some fun today. I got my boy Ed, the sports fan, Ed Maisonet. You are a sports editor at the Houston Chronicle, correct?
Yeah, Overcron sports editor, man. Been there. It's going on a full year now. Was at ESPN for 6 years, covering the NBA, covering combat sports, watching people get paid to get punched and kicked in the face for a living. That was pretty cool. So, yeah, man, we in H-Town holding it down, bro.
Exactly. Oklahoma native,
yes,
Sooner
sir.
fan.
One time to Lawton all day, 580.
Gotta show love to the city. And so, no, I appreciate you taking time to talk about what we've been working on trying to do this for a bit. I've been saying I need to hit up Ed, see if he can get on here and talk some ball because, hey, man, we got a lot of things to dive into. Not only is our rival not have a single P4 win, same thing with another school across the country that I've been trying to tell folks that they need to stop putting their stock into. But these Sooners, man, they look real. They look like a legitimate squad. So I kind of want to start there, and then we're going to jump into the rest. So thank y'all, everybody, for pulling up. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. Ed, man, I want to start with the Sooners. We got to start Oklahoma ball because
let's do it.
Look, man, there's been some doubts. I got to get your side of this, too, when it comes to the Brent Venables hire. There's been a lot of people that have not been on the Brent Venables train. They weren't riding it for a while. They were like, hey, man, this does not feel like we're going in the right direction. But then you have what you got this season. Where were you on the hire of BV, and how has your roller coaster ride gone?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when Lincoln stepped out, everybody was in a lurch. And sometimes you want that old thing back. Sometimes you want something that feel good. And Venables brought a lot of feel good to a lot of folks back in Norman and back in the Sooner State. And, like him being in the role, like, I think the one thing everybody really want, I always look at it like when coaching hot, whenever you have like a new teacher or a new coach and like you have a player's coach. And then when the team or the classroom starts to like slide, oh, we got to get a hard ass in here. We got to get a disciplinarian in here. And we got to get something that's very offset. And I think with OU, everybody felt like, yeah, man, we got this all world offense. We putting Heisman trophies up, like curtains on the window. Like it's just happening. It's whatever. And I think, but that backside was loose. You know what I'm saying? To be nice about it. The defense was cheeks. And so, Venables felt like an immediate fix. And, I look at the last 4 years of Venables because it's like it's been 2 really good seasons. It's been 2 really bad ones. And I've always kind of felt like the bad seasons have all been reasonable. I mean, when your quarterback goes down, the offense is probably going to be bad. And in last season's scenario, it's just we had bad quarterbacks and we had a bad offensive system. And so, like I do think that there is something to be said about who is the person making the choices of the coach, because that is a leadership thing. That is, you are the CEO of the team. You're the one making those personnel choices. And so some of the things that they've done after the fact, hiring a general manager, blowing out this entire staff. I saw I can't remember the man's name. Stacey Ford had put a post out about like the org chart of the Sooners. And I was like, oh, they got like, I didn't realize it was that many people like on staff just managing that stuff. And so I think to some degree that gives Venables the opportunity to just do what he does, to be defensive guru, to be a rah-rah leader guy, because he does rah-rah leader guy, I think, really well. And I think feeling good about obviously it feels good to feel good about the Venables hire now. But I always felt like the things that happened in the past were reasonable to understand there were going to be bumps in the roads for somebody who's still a first-time head coach. Like I think we forget the fact that, yes, he's been a great coordinator for a long time, but this is his first rodeo, and he's had a few bumps along the way.
And like you said, they were reasonable. I feel like a lot of people don't want to take that in consideration. And for me, the viewers have heard me say this on numerous occasions, I would have called for Brent Venables' head if I hadn't seen progressions on the defensive side of the ball, right? Like if we hadn't seen this defense get better and better each year. First year, cheeks still when you got later in the season. 23, okay, you're seeing an improvement. 24, as bad of a year as it was, that defense was stout.
Yeah.
And then now this year, you bring in a quarterback, a new offensive coordinator. And even with that, the offensive coordinator we had, Jeff Lebby, just got a head coaching job at Mississippi State, and they're actually not bad. They look a lot better year two. Yeah. So you run into that scenario. And that makes sense to me. I agree, because that has been the thing I've preached is and honestly, kind of got to take a shot at the opposition out there. Auburn's biggest problem right now is they offense is cheeks. Their head coach is an offensive guy. Yeah. That cannot be the formula. But you're right. The microwave mentality of hiring a coach is you bring an offensive guy in, you're going to have a lot more success really fast. A defensive dude, it takes a couple more years. The question is, what is his offensive hire? And it appears, I think Arbuckle might be that dude. What you think about John Mateer so far? Even though, he has he had to have thumb surgery. We're going to say that just because Brent Venables did. He did have thumb surgery, but a tortilla presser tells us he's going to play this coming weekend against Texas.
Tortilla presser. Yo, it's been wild. And I want to make sure I hit on one thing before we get to, because I got a lot of thoughts on Mateer. I also just want to remind folks that, you fans, bro, we're spoiled. And you called it like Lincoln Riley hit the ground running with a well-oiled machine. The transition was it felt like a slight uptick from what we had with Stoops. Stoops came in, and within 2 seasons you won a national championship, and then you realize, you were on a 2-decade-long run. You didn't even realize it. But folks don't forget. Done already forgot. Uncle John Blake. When he was here, when Snellenberger tried to be the patch, and what Gary Gibbs tried to take before Switzer. And it's like, this thing about a first-time head coach coming in here and like doing the job that's not normal. That's not normal, especially at a high level. And so, and to the point of Venables, what Venables is probably going to do, and what you might think about, and I'm going to tie this to Mateer. The best thing Stoops ever did was we don't give him enough credit for picking offensive minds that gave him trouble. His whole thing was, I went to I'm looking at Hal Mummy's tree. I'm seeing what's happening with Mike Leach and Mangino, and finding guys that I know give me problems as an elite defensive coach. And I think, the trick bag was, like he brought in Lebby. That was solid. And he went to the homie. He went to the homie hookup with Latrell, and that proved to be a bit of a fall up. And so now you have the Arbuckle era, and you get the whole thing with Mateer. And I'm a fan of Mateer. He got a little bit of sunshine in him, in the sense of like when I hear him talk, I'm not gonna say he's on some like shucks, but he just seems like vibes, and I know everybody makes the comparison to like Baker. With vibes, but like Mateer, honestly, if you told me he took a puff of something before the game, I would believe you, because he is on cloud 9 like all the time, and just like happy vibes, like the positive strain, not the one that brings you down strain. And I think that Mateer is doing everything we'd want in an OU quarterback. Now, people want to talk about these occasional line drive throws, or the fact that he has to run too much, and that he does have a bit of a gunslinger mentality. But frankly, I think given what we've seen from the rest of college football, like when you got that type of defense you can lean on, Oklahoma probably could afford to have somebody that is willing to be a little bit more audacious. And I think when you're going to be playing in bigger games, like the one coming up this Saturday, and when you're going up against South Carolina, LSU, Alabama, Missouri, we know what the rest of the slate is. You're going to have to be audacious. And I think that there have been times, I would even say a little bit in the Lincoln Riley era, that if it was not something that was dialed up, that occasionally there would be those moments that you would see the lemon booty start, because it would be, you'd have to make a tough throw. You'd have to make a play, and you would see Jalen and Kyler and Baker. It would just be that little extra second of process. And this is ultimate nitpicking, by the way. Elite. Fair. They all were elite. I'm not questioning them, but sometimes you need a little bit of effort. You need just a little bit of effort. And
somebody out there, he gonna catch it.
Yeah, like a little bit. And if not with this team, because you couldn't afford the difference is you couldn't afford to do that with those defenses from 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Like you couldn't afford to do it with those defenses. You can afford to do it with this defense. And that's what I like about Mateer probably more than anything is he gonna give us a shot. And I think having what the Jackson Arnold experience was, bro, you felt like you had anything but, because everything had to be squeaky clean.
No, that's a fair point. And I love that you pointed out the one thing that we know that Brent Venables, and I think that this is one of those BV took from the Bob Stoops portion, was let me go find an offense that kicks my tail, that keeps me up at night, that makes me think more than I would like. And I'm going to bring that here. I'm going to bring that problem to my team. That way, not only I can try to prepare for it week after week when I go against the opposition, but I can start giving the opposition bigger problems. Because if there's one thing that we don't, BV's one of the best DCs out there, and he's proving it more and more this season. This defense is literally top 5 in just about every important metric. Like right now, I was actually looking it up this morning after I was talking about the game. They are, I think, number 1 in the country in third down efficiency.
Okay.
A conversion, 17.39%. Dog.
That's crazy.
What more could you ask for when we ain't seen a defense here since Brent Venables was here before? This is crazy.
To your point, and I was talking about this, you could make a legit, in the entire case of Oklahoma football history, you can make a case this is the best pass rush Oklahoma has ever had in its entire history.
Period. Even with Tommy Harris, even with Gerald McCoy. Yes, this is probably it.
Because this is probably the first time. So I was having to school some Sooner fans. It was like, bro, they probably haven't had a pass rusher like this as Cedric Jones in like 94, 95. And like there are some people that don't even know who that is. But like, yes, like a OU pass rusher went in the 5th pick in the first round in 1996. You know what I'm saying? I think he's from Houston, by the way. And he ended up going to the Giants. But it's like, he got like 16 sacks in a season. Like our Mason gonna catch that in like about 2-3 more weeks, depending on the way he's going. And I think so when you start thinking like they got, just think about the conversation we were having at a few months ago about David Stone was thinking about chucking the deuce. Like people already done forgot that conversation. Like he was on the brink. Some people have. I don't say everybody, but some people have been like they didn't. And you see him now, and you see like, oh no, we got to pony up. We got to figure out how to make this happen, because he is now starting to look like Gerald McCoy, Tommy Harris. He looks like that, and he's still, just based on talent, he's probably the best defensive lineman on the team. But from a production and from a skill set standpoint, he's probably still 3rd or 4th, because Grayson's balling, our Mason Thomas is balling, Jaden Jackson, Damani Williams. Like this is the first time too. They're probably gonna have all them dudes gonna get drafted.
Yeah. Yeah, like, we probably got up front that will. I mean, Gerald McCoy was what a number that draft was just ridiculous though that year. It was at 2010. It was him, Trent, as well as Sam Bradford.
Yes, but Jay, think about it. Think about what Georgia's offensive and defensive lines have been, and like you think about Jalen Carter, you think about Jordan Davis, you think about Nolan Smith, and you start thinking about Tyron Walker. And you're gonna look, I think you're gonna look 2 years, 3 years down the line, you're gonna be like, our Mason Thomas is a 1st round, 2nd round pick. David Stone, I think David Stone is already a lock to be a number of 1st round pick. I think just off height, measurables, everything. And then some of them other guys are gonna be round 2, round 3, round 4. And you're gonna look back and like, oh, 2020, they had 3, 4, 5 dudes that went. And if they and then you're gonna start seeing that happen, that trail, the recruiting trail, where if they can continue it. The thing about Venables being there, in my opinion, Jay, he ain't going nowhere. I think putting a defensive guy in that role like Oklahoma, I think it makes it a lot less likely for some, nobody else is leaving. They're not going to do the Lincoln Riley thing of like, oh, there is an actual job that's better. I think if you're a defensive coach at OU, I think it leaves you a lot more rooted. And then you just hope that means that the recruiting trail continues to be really kind to you to find the toughest position to recruit, not quarterback, but defensive line.
Yeah, interior is the toughest one to get because it's not only the money position, but it's also
limited in abundance.
Yeah, it's the one that you ain't got a lot of. There's very few of them. It's like this, like in the NFL, the biggest struggle right now is finding an actual capable starting quarterback. Quarterback play is getting worse and worse. And truth be told, I mean, I can go on to my whole spiel and lecture on NFL, but I'll just leave it at this portion of it is we ain't producing good backup quarterbacks no more. It's bust. It's starter bust, and that hurts the overall development. But back to Oklahoma here, talking to our guy Ed here on the show. We're gonna get back to the interview, but first, shout out to our partners here at Sleeper. If you're not using it for daily fantasy sports, you're missing out because they got some awesome promotions, especially right now. New users get $20 just for signing up. That's it. Use our promo code UNFAIR, and if you want to make a deposit, they're also going to give you a 100% match up to your first $100. Let's make a couple of picks here real quick. And so I'm looking at this game for Monday night. You've got Juju Smith-Schuster, 25.5 receiving yards. I'm going to go less. I don't know if I feel confident in him. We're going to pick Patrick Mahomes. We're going to pick receiving yards for Strange. We'll go more because I feel like it's a weird game. All you got to do is pick 2 or more players, more or less on their stats. And guess what? You're going to win up to 1,000 times your money, make these game days into paydays. So we got Patrick Mahomes, we got Trevor Lawrence, Kareem Hunt, Juju Smith-Schuster, all of that. And you throw a little money on there, like I said, up to 1,000 times. So check them out. Use our promo code UNFAIR. You're going to get a match of 100% up to $100 plus new users, $20 just for entering. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Oklahoma's schedule is a gauntlet coming up, dog. At least that's what everybody's telling us. We got Texas coming this weekend, so we're going to start with them. Sure. It's funny. Josh Pate over on the Josh Pate College Football Show, one of my favorite shows to listen to. Great guy, and he called this chaos scenario at SEC Media Days. And I chit-chatted with him about it at the media days, and he was like, hey, man, I'm looking at the way this is lining up. It's a possibility. And this was his chaos scenario. Oklahoma walks in 5-0. Texas walks in 3-2. And their 2 losses are to Ohio State and Florida. People laughed. People lost their mind. Texas fans are still in the comments section saying you're an idiot for thinking that. So me and my guy John went on Locked On Sooners, talked about that, and I'm just like, if Lagway is who we think he is, that could happen. But then, of course, Lagway had all these awful games leading up to this, and so everybody's like, I don't think it's a possibility. But then they bullied them. My boy, where were you on the Arch Manning talk? And do you think that Texas may have a problem going forward?
I think my thought on Arch was really simple. It's like, can we all pump the brakes? And it's not, and not because, I mean, first off, like, as someone who's been in media this long, like, yes, we don't know how to, I'm going to say we in this scenario, we don't always do the best job in managing hype because, hey, man, page views matter, subscriptions matter. Please watch us. Please read us. Please pay attention to our content, right? Like, there is an element of that. But I think the one thing that's always been a concern for me is, like, the first thing that immediately called out was like, wait, he didn't beat out Quinn. And that was like concern one. And now you looking at Texas now, like, oh, I see why he didn't beat out Quinn. And I think that Arch, it was very telling when when the most talented Manning in the family, his granddaddy, came out and said, we're not even thinking about the 2026 NFL draft. Like, I actually thought that was really telling in the sense of like their own self-assessment of not rushing this, even if it goes fantastic. And I think the reality is with the University of Texas right now, their new situation is Arch Manning is probably going to be a 3-year starter. I think that because I even started to take the path of like, okay, let's say Texas finished the season 7-5. Let's say they lose to Oklahoma. Let's say they lose a couple more games. Let's say they win a few more games. Like they're not ready to go to Diabell. I don't know. I think they're still in on Gunnar Rivers. They're right now. They're on Nepo QB baby watch for anybody of that ilk. But I think there would also be a situation where they couldn't get out of the Arch Manning business if they want to, but it's too much money tied into Arch right now. And so for me in Texas, I think that Sarkisian is going to have a different conversation of how do we get this team to the finish line? And one of the things is, hey man, y'all might need to stop treating him like he is an all-world talent. And I'm going to give you a name that won a national championship. You ready? Craig Krenzel. I'm going to give you another name that won a national championship, Matt Mock. Right? Like when those teams were winning, it was a lot of handoff to Maurice Claret. Handoff, like, yo, we're throwing the ball when necessary. And instead, like, I watched Texas and there's this like profound desire to throw the ball 40 times a game to a dude that's trying to play all Madden and he ain't even figured out how to conquer all pro or pro yet. So, with that being said, I still think Texas is dangerous in the Cotton Bowl on Saturday. Obviously, Oklahoma has their own concerns at quarterback. But if I'm Sarkisian, man, I think at some point you have to reevaluate what your governor on offense is. Because I think asking Arch Manning to try to go win you games right now, he's actually losing you games. And half the battle of being a good quarterback is don't lose it for us. And if you happen to be the reason why we win, that's cool. But there's been a lot of great quarterbacks that did a lot by just not losing the game. So that's my 2 cents.
No, I'm with you on that. That is probably the one thing that that I tried to point to some Texas fans who were not very happy with me when I said, I'm like, look, man, he didn't beat Quinn out. And on top of that part, this was the biggest seller for me, Ed. They put him in the Georgia game because Quinn was struggling. Mm-hmm. And he struggled worse. Mm-hmm. And they yanked him right back. Like, there's the picture of them both on the sideline looking like this. And I was like, oh, yeah, there's something wrong here, dog. This is not it. And it's crazy to me that neither them nor the media darling, like you said, the media, got to hype up certain teams, get them subscriptions, the attention, blah, blah, blah. Penn State is. How did Penn State go West Coast? Look. I'm gonna dive into this because I need to get your thoughts on this on this conference realignment piece because it's starting to piss me off now.
Talk about it.
Every single one of these coaches complained. Lincoln Riley did it against Illinois not too long ago, 2 weeks ago when they lost. And then you get James Franklin saying, well, the travel, man, it's just so tough and everything. Then why did y'all allow y'all's conference to chase them dollars and go after schools on the West Coast knowing good and well you're going to be traveling like that? Like, we can't use the travel excuse when that you put yourself in 4 time zones. Yeah. And then they go out there. They got Jim Knowles to come out there because Tom Allen, not the tool man, but Tom Allen left and went to Clemson, which he wasn't that great there either. But he goes out there and they let the former Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava cook them. Like, they got fried, sauteed, filleted, you name it. It happened. It was an awful game. I'm looking at the score. I'm like, wait, is it 27-7 for real? And lastly, as we're talking quarterbacks, we're talking about this boy Arch Manning, which I think he'll be fine long term. I just don't think he's ready yet. Drew Aller, he was supposed to be the number 1 pick too. And he's been cheeks all season. What is going on with the college quarterback assessment that we're seeing? It feels like it's getting just as bad as it was in the NFL.
A couple of things. Number one, the best joke I saw on Twitter was they were because it's what's the name's Neuheisel's son, I believe, is the coach, the interim coach, and they said
Yes.
who let Joffrey Lannister coach UCLA to gets Penn State over and getting cooked by Joffrey Lannister. I was weak, bro. Number one,
I'm done.
Number two, you've played dominoes. I've played dominoes. What do we always say? Not all money is
good money.
Exactly. And I think that, look, man, I think something that we, not only as sports fans, but then the people who work in sports industry, there are so many cases where there is such a chase for money that there is a conversation about, is this actually making the product better? Okay. And you can take this conversation to my former employer, ESPN, because they have a hand in it too. And these conferences and these schools, like, yes, UCLA would have been foolish to turn down the Big Ten because of the money. But at the same time, you also understand there's consequences and repercussions that come with that. I mean, we could talk about your boy Lincoln for kind of the same reason. Look, I could drag him into this conversation because what did everybody make the joke about with Lincoln? He's like, hey man, he didn't want the grind, right? So he went to USC with the concept of this is going to be the Pac-10. And then like literally like a short period of time later, oh no, you still going to get this grind, but now you need to get your freaking flyer mile game up as well. And so, you know, the thing that was really concerning about the Penn State UCLA game is like, yo, the defense didn't travel. Like you giving up 42 to that team. And for me, I think that, yes, all of this travel inherently will make the teams a little bit less good. Number one. Yeah, I will say, though, as a fan, if I was a Penn State fan, I would much rather have a trip to Los Angeles than I would to have a trip to go to whatever town Wisconsin is in or Iowa. Respectfully, or going to New Jersey. You know, I'm just saying Madison. I know where Wisconsin is, Madison, and that's not shade to Madison or to Ames. Yeah, Ames and wherever Rutgers is, but. Hey man, Los Angeles is dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd much rather go to Los Angeles where it's 77 degrees all the time and the beach is like right there. I would rather go. So, hey man, you might just have to see Penn State take stupid losses. But to your other point about the quarterbacks, and this goes back to Sarkisian, I do
quarterback
think
whisperer.
So yes, he and I that's that you just made my point for me right there. And Franklin's not really like. I've never viewed him as like an offensive guru, but when I watch Aller and when I watch Arch and I watch certain quarterbacks, it's a measuring contest. I'll leave that first word out, but it's a type of measuring contest of like, yo, how much of an offensive guru am I really? And I can just take anybody and make them look like superstars. And I think Arch is probably getting a disservice by getting them 40 throws a game. And I think Drew Aller has the conundrum of he's a looks the part all-star.
Yeah.
But we've seen his movies now for 3 seasons. And the fact that Franklin, in my opinion, doesn't do enough to protect his quarterback, to me, it's not. And now, a Penn State fan might watch and be like, oh no, they try. But we at some point, like, you got to go win the game. And like, that's fair too. And so, like, we know Penn State can run the ball. We know they got offensive linemen. We know that they do all the other things. They are the epitome of Big Ten football. But when it comes to these moments, they are Baltimore Ravens in their way at the end of these games to find ways to lose some games in pretty poor fashion. Because it also seems to be like they don't ever get blown out. The Oregon loss was, a squeaker. The UCLA loss somehow was also like a squeaker. Like they need to get blown out. Maybe it'd make us feel better. I don't know if it'd make us feel better. We'd laugh. We'd have more jokes though, for sure.
More jokes. I'm here for the jokes. That's what I'm here for. In sports, it's more fun when you can laugh at people and talk about them. Talk to our boy Ed over here on the show today, man. I appreciate you joining. Okay. We grew up in an era of massive excitement when it came to the U. Like the U was like the team that a lot of us like. We wished our team was that cool. You know what I'm saying? When you think about Miami in the 80s and the 90s, even up to the early 2000s, we're all like, I really, really wish that our team was that dope. And, granted, we weren't. Sooner fans, struggled in the, mid to 90s or whatnot. It happened.
It happens.
But you still had the 85 title, so that's always the plus. And you go to 2000. But Miami was just fun. Miami forgot what football was for so many years. And I forgot who said this, but I remember them saying that basically the way that Miami operated through most of that time was the school was like, we are a Ivy League school in the South. If you gonna do something in football, y'all figure it out. School ain't gonna really that participate, but we'll gladly let you ride our coattails of being an intelligent school in the South. So football took over. Went out there, dominated, had some good times, and then, like I said, they forgot about football for a while. Hey man, I think they might be back. Did Mario Cristobal really build themselves a powerhouse right now? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it reminds me. Well, the first thing is they got even though that boy got a wild story in Miami. It looks like they got a grown-up at quarterback.
They really do.
Carson Beck looks like a grown-up back there. And every time I see him, because he's got these like really glassy blue eyes, and he always is like, he looks like everything is in slow motion when I'm watching him. And he looks like a grown-up. And what Cristobal reminds me of is this Miami team reminds me a lot of the Joe Burrow LSU team that was coached by Orgeron. Because I do not think, and I don't mean this as shade to Cristobal, but I do not necessarily find him to be the most savvy coach. I think, a matter of fact, he's probably a bit of, even though Dan Campbell doesn't get enough credit for being a savvy offensive coach, especially considering Dan Campbell came up under Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Mario Cristobal is like, I'm trying to get the biggest dudes. He's a recruiting maestro. And he got a lot of big dudes. He got a lot of strong dudes. He got a lot of fast dudes. And then he went up and got a grown-up at quarterback. And that's the thing about that LSU team of they had all-world talent. And then they went and got a proverbial. They found a grown-up off of Ohio State's bench and put him in there. And they lit everybody on fire, including OU. And the thing I've always tried to tell people about Miami as an Oklahoma fan, man, Oklahoma got a lot of rivals. I don't mess with Texas. I don't mess with Nebraska. I have mixed feelings on Oklahoma State because my mama went there, but she knows what it is. I'm a sooner born, sooner bred. When it comes to that,
I die, be sooner dead. Yes,
there
sir.
You go. And so, but Miami is one of them schools where Oklahoma should hate Miami. And
That's
yet,
true.
I have never found. Miami has probably cost Oklahoma at least 2 national championships. And Miami is one of the few schools that routinely kicks the dog piss out of Oklahoma. Until maybe in the last, they met a few times in the last like decade or so. But in the heyday when they were both in their primes, that was a problem from Oklahoma. And yet, Oklahoma, a fan base whose favorite coach is a son of a bootlegger, a fan base who has regularly looked away when things were happening under the table and shenanigans and tomfoolery and hijinks happened on campus. It was like that was the cost of doing business. That's the cost of doing business. And when we saw what Miami was doing, it's like, oh, that looks pretty cool, and because they get down like we get down to some degree. Matter of fact, they get down a little bit better than we do.
Just a smidget. They found a way.
So man, Miami is. We make these jokes about we've been trying to make Nebraska, like everybody always says, we want Nebraska to come back. We want Nebraska to be a thing. And I do agree, like college football is probably better if Nebraska is legitimate. But I think even more so, Miami is one of them teams that, oh no, they don't need to be just good. Like they need to be swaggering excellence because it feels like it means something a little bit more to beat Miami, especially when they have swagger and excellence. And Cristobal and Beck and Ruben Bain, they got a lot of dudes with swagger and excellence. And I think the thing about college football right now, I'm looking at the rankings. this is probably the most beatable I think all of the top teams feel. Like
Yes.
I don't look at Oregon, Ohio State, even Miami. For everything we've been praising about Oklahoma, the one thing I don't have illusions about, Oklahoma is beatable. Even if John Mateer plays his best game and Oklahoma plays lights out defense, I still think they're beatable. And so Miami, just knowing that Miami could be in that title chase makes this cocktail a lot more delicious for sure.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And, I didn't even really think about it that way because it was one stretch where Oklahoma was undefeated against everybody that wasn't named Miami.
Bro, they were 33-0. They played 30. They were 33-0, and they just lost to Miami 3 times. They lost in the Orange Bowl. They lost in the Sugar Bowl, and I can't remember what other game. But yeah, they played 36 games. They went 33-0, and they just kept losing to Miami.
It is like, but it's funny, but just like you said, no, we don't really tie Miami, and I guess it's because it was so far back, and really when Miami was like as the Broadcasting Rights Act hit and all, you start to see really more games and everything on TV, and it became this massive production and now a massive commodity because the only thing we care about is live sports. It didn't become what it is today until like Miami was good and Oklahoma was and in 2000, technically everybody wondered if Oklahoma should have played Miami in the national championship instead of Florida State that year. So that was also a very big conversation. But Miami had, I think it was the next year, Miami had 3 or 4 NFL running backs with 3 of them as backups. They weren't even playing. You're like,
yeah, well, that was Gore, McGahee, Portis, Jared Payton. You know what I mean? Like, they just had the Hall of a Legend son just playing fullback.
Yeah. Hey man, hey, can you do us a solid and just play fullback for us? That's the only way we're gonna be.
Najee Davenport, I think, was on that team too. Yeah,
he was.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that team was stupid. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm curious to why we haven't tried to adopt them as a rival, but I'm thinking it's because it was too far back. And
you can't be a rival to someone who continually kicks your ass. And it was like they decimated Oklahoma. Like Oklahoma ain't really been able to deliver a fair. You know how we were watching Canelo and Crawford, and then Crawford started countering, and it was very clear like, Canelo didn't really have any more moves. It was definitely feeling like that with Oklahoma in the 80s. And like my Uncle Bill, he was like, hey man, Oklahoma just going to be quiet on this one. There ain't a lot to talk about. And I think that's actually like a sign of respect because like it was very when you were that obviously that good, there ain't nothing else to say.
No. Like, what more can you say? So for Oklahoma now, this is a great chance. But as you said, this season feels so much more wide open than any other that I've seen in a while. I don't see anybody that's just overly dominant, while at the same time, like I said, I think Miami may have put themselves in a situation like Miami's placed themselves to me in a situation that Texas thought they were in.
That's
getting
interesting.
Back in that they look like they may be back. He's playing like lights out football. Now the question is going to be, what does that look like once you actually get into post-conference play, when you get to actual playoff play? Does Carson Beck go back to what he was at Georgia, or does he take that next step? I mean, like you said, he has a hilarious story down there in Miami, and he couldn't even hang on to a Cavender twin. So that obviously tells you where that man's struggles are. But Miami could be that one. Okay, so where do you think Oklahoma finishes the rest of this season? Let's wrap up with that.
Yeah, I think I think they're a 2-loss team. I think that they're gonna drop 2. I might be doing that to kind of slow play it a little bit. Yeah, but I also think but my other thought is it does, and I don't care who they lose to in the next 2 games for the rest of the season. If they finish the season with 2 losses, they're going to be in the playoff.
Oh, easy.
So to me, like getting to this point of 5-0, and they have 6 games left on the schedule. So if they finish 9-2, like maybe they're playing for the SEC championship. Maybe they're not. I don't know. I mean, to me, like, for the amount of teams that people have to still go through, it's, to me, if you can get out of here with 2, I think you're doing pretty damn good. And I don't think that, look, you can go through it. Okay, if they get through Texas, cool. That Ole Miss game, getting Ole Miss at home, I think is going to be big. Like, one thing that's not being talked about, Oklahoma, this schedule to me has been really fascinating. The amount of like home games they've had, and like their only road game has really been going to Philly. And then they get Texas neutral site. They get Ole Miss at home. I think they have to go. I think they get LSU at home, and they get Missouri at home. And so their road games, they get their 3 remaining road games are South Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. And I think that all of those games will have, almost all of those games have real Oklahoma emotional ties. Beamer, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee with Heupel in that situation. And I keep thinking about those games last season. The only game last season that felt unwinnable was the LSU game. But I look at the Missouri game, Ole Miss, Tennessee, South Carolina, and it's like, man, if you just put a mid quarterback in there, it feels like those games could have gone very differently. So
competent quarterback play wins you those games.
Yeah.
Period.
So, but none of that matters until we get to Red River. If God bless Michael Hawkins, if Michael Hawkins is in there at quarterback, I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't be mad if they ran Wildcat 35 times. Nah, man, for real. Come on, man. What we talking about, bro? Like, I'm watching this man. Like, why is he sidearming, bro? Like, why is he trying to turn 2? Why is he trying to turn 2, bro? Like, on a 20-yard hitch route. Like, what are you doing, fam? You know?
He has a rocket, and it's like he doesn't have a dial. It's like the Russell Westbrook effect. As much as we love Russ, is that he just doesn't have a dial to turn it down. It's 100% or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like with his throws with Michael. And like I said, I have an appreciation for him. He did really good. He had touch when he played Auburn on the road last year as a true freshman. He was out there doing it. This one, it felt like he was just trying to prove that he could launch it. And it's like, hey, man, just no.
You remember the 2-point conversion? You remember the 2-point conversion he got against Auburn? Was it Auburn last year?
Auburn. Yes, it was Auburn. That was the one that he converted.
Yeah,
that was the second over the top play.
Over the top. Why does every play feel like that? It really does. This is 1st and 10 from the 35. Why? Why does everything feel like a chaos? Why does everything feel like the floor is lava, bro? Like, I think that going back to even the quarterback guru conversation, I think that not to encourage conservatism on offense, but I also think managing expectations, because look, bro, Red River is still a different environment. We got to remember one thing: Arch ain't done it either. Like, we've seen Arch play a lot of games. He ain't been in Red River yet. Nope. Like, Hawkins, if there's actually any advantage to Hawkins in Manning, because like I said, I just don't think Mateer is gonna play. And if he plays, then it's gonna be gravy. But I mean, Mateer ain't played in it either. But again, we have different feels about him. So
he's a different breed. He's a different breed of quarterback.
He a different breed of quarterback. So I think the managing of dynamics and emotions for that'll be interesting. But I'm putting my stamp on OU for. I think there's 2 losses there, and I think if you get out of this season with 2 losses, I think you're gonna be somewhere in that bottom half of the playoff come at the end of the season.
Yeah, and it feels like this team can make a deep run. The defense, to me, and I've said this numerous times with the people who've heard me say this a lot, is this defense is so good that it's so good that because the offense is competent, they're going to look even better than last year. I think last year's defense was better, but statistically this one's going to be better because the offense is going to help them so much more. I thought that initially. I'm actually leaning more like this defense is probably better than last year. It's like we were wondering how we were going to replace Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman. I don't think we fully replaced them, but I think we did see their leadership lead into growth the other guys. So
they missed
some
Bowman.
good stuff.
Yeah,
yes.
The one they missed, as much as I love Denny Stutzman, you recognize they miss Bowman in this, and maybe they miss Eli. We'll see what Eli looks like because man, you know what it is, and I'm gonna let you get on this because I know now it's time to go. You play Madden. I'm thinking just bringing this back to Madden, and when you play cover zero, but they play a lot of essentially putting their corners on islands, and I think that the Auburn game was a reminder, like, yeah, these dudes ain't fully formed at corner. Like, we're at a point right now. Can you imagine the fact that they're like, oh, we're not throwing at Gentry Williams? Like that is an evolution of where we are right now. Like, no, we're gonna leave Gentry alone. We're gonna go to the other side because we were just dying to get Gentry on the field. Yeah. So getting Eli back on the field and getting some experience will be interesting. But yeah. But I'm sorry, I realized I need to get that off my chest. I was feeling some type of way about that because I felt like I was watching Madden against Auburn a few weeks ago. It made me feel some type of way.
Yeah, and it felt like that's what the coaches were. I think they were going for that. They knew they can get the pressure on Jackson Arnold and be fine, but it felt like they wanted to really test Cortland Guillory, in which, that game test failed. It's okay. Because he passed everything else with flying colors so well that all you got to do is keep refining. And this is one of those, you could tell that he has a short memory when it comes to those mistakes as a corner, which I appreciate. Most corners sulk. He's like, nah, we're going to go out there and we're going to keep fighting in. Hey, I got screwed up. We're going to keep fighting. That was a story that my guy from 247, as we wrap up, Colin Kennedy said here on the show. We were talking about Cortland. He said, when Cortland was at camps, the one thing he kept doing was going to find the best corner on that team. Give me that dude. Give me the best wide receiver. Give me the 5-star wide receiver. Give me the 5-star wide receiver at camp. I want him. Let me match up with him. And that's all. Give me the high 4-star. Give me him. And he would only match up with the best. He'd win some, he'd lose some. But the thing that jumped into everybody's attention was he a dog. He got that dog in him, and he's okay with losing a rep because it's going to make him better to learn how to be better for the next one. And so we got some good stuff coming from the Sooners. Ed, let the people know where they can find all your great work and where all your people are at.
Yeah, man. Cron Sports is where my day job. I follow everything, the intersection of sports, pop culture, and more, all things Houston, all things Texas at cron.com/sports. And also just recently launched Talking to Big Game Pod. You can subscribe, link, share. I'm stealing all the buzzwords that Jay uses for Unfair Sports, but really excited to kind of get that launched. And we've already had a bunch of dope guests. And, I think the one thing that we really want to do there is, can we work on having better sports conversations? Because we get a lot of sports fans are having a lot of sports conversations and dialogues all over the place. And I think our opportunity is, can we peel the onion back a little differently and refine the angle a little more? So that's what we're trying to do at Talking a Big Game, and I really appreciate y'all supporting it.
Absolutely. Go check them out. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like. New to the channel, subscribe. Same thing on Ed's Work Week. And I'm definitely going to hop over there and talk ball with you. So, man, I appreciate you pulling up. Let's make it happen.
Invite coming soon, bro. Yes, sir.